Good evening from London. How are you doing today? It's me, Halo Spencer, your Bible reader for today. Welcome to today's stream, those of you that are tuning in live, and for those of you who are watching it later on. It's been a little while, do apologize. No, actually, it's just been a couple of weeks, actually. Just been out my program, but I'm really happy to be here this evening with you. So that we're now entering another Bible book. We're entering a new phase. We've finished Genesis and Exodus. So now we're into Leviticus, the law. So I'm really happy that things have progressed to where we are now. Taking my time, I'm in no rush. That's the thing about it, I'm in no rush. But I'm looking forward to completing the 5 books, also known as the Pentateuch, by the end of this year. That's the general target. I mean, if we get there, fine. The thing about it, if we get to the end of this year and we've done all the 5 books, then that's fine. The main thing for me, and I hope for you, is understanding. So from my perspective, especially the first time, excuse me, especially the first time that I read the Bible, I read it for understanding. So it's important that we understand what we're reading, because especially the books of Genesis and Exodus that we've gone through already, because it's a reflection, it's the foundation, and a solid foundation builds up well for the future. So it's important that we also understand what we're reading rather than going for speed. Time is not necessarily an enemy in this case, but it's just something that one may consider. But as I said, I'm in no rush, and I want to welcome you to the stream. I think it's always great to be happy. So it's good to celebrate reading the Word of God, even when one feels that there's nothing to celebrate. It's always good to be positive minded, to be alert, and as the Lord tells us, to be sober. We're not talking about alcohol here, we're talking about being aware, being awake. Okay? I'll tell you an incident that happened to me just today's Thursday. This happened to me on Tuesday. I was going to work, just left home, and it came to my mind instantly when I left home that when I got out of the gate of my house, because I can't really see who's coming left or right. If I pay attention, I can, but I don't really. So I just walk out, get to the gate, and just bang, I'm into the road. So last week, I almost bumped into a woman when I came out of my house. So I thought, oh, she was coming up essentially behind me. She's coming from, like, I'm coming out this way. She was coming from my right hand side. And I didn't know. Okay, yeah, we're rolling. Apologies. So I was just coming out of my house, and I almost bumped into her. Then before that, I almost bumped into a young man going to school. So on Tuesday, out of the blue, I just said, all right, look, over the last week, you almost bumped into 2 people, so take your time. So I got to my gate and I just stopped. I've never done this before, and I've been using that entrance and exit for almost a decade. All right. And I've never done this before. I never stopped at my gate and waited. So as I said that day, I just said to myself, you got to be careful. Last week, you on different days, you almost bumped into two people, one coming from your left, one coming from your right. So I just stopped at my gate before I went into the pavement. Guess what happened? A cyclist came, phew, and I saw his face, and he was speeding on that bike on the pavement. And he was right beside me. If this was me, this was him going past me. I'm not joking. And I thought, oh my word, he would have taken me out and I would have been injured. You know, to be honest, I wouldn't be here speaking to you right now. I'd be injured. Who knows what would have gotten broken. I thought to myself, oh my word. And I just realized to myself that that was the Lord that done that for me. I just knew that was the Lord said to me, you stop there, be patient. And I did, because I've never done this before. Never. I just go straight into the pavement without looking either way. I just stopped and took my time. And this guy just came, as we say in the UK, bombing down the road on his bike. He should never have been there, to be totally honest. And I said he would have taken me out. So when I say we've got to be sober, we've got to be sober. We've got to be aware of what's going on around us. We've got to be conscious. Okay? We've got to be ready. Because the Lord said he will come like a thief in the night. A thief doesn't announce that he's coming to steal from you. He just turns up. Okay? So we've got to be ready at all times, especially when you're blessed, when the Lord has blessed you, when you believe in the Lord. You've got to be awake, because we're just surrounded by so many things, evil mostly. So we have to be awake. So I just thought I'd share that with you. I mean, I went to work and I spent a bit of the day, not a lot, because, hey, things have happened to me and I would like to tell you some stories. But I was in a state of shock because I was thinking what could have happened to me if I got hit by that guy on his bicycle. Yeah, that just went through my mind a few times during the day, and I thought to myself, oh my word, I'm just so lucky. I'm just so happy to be here. So yep, and I'm revved up to sort of like share this Bible study with you as well. So, Leviticus, why don't we just roll straight into this? What I'm going to do, I'm going to give you a prelude about what the book of Leviticus is about. In the next stream, I did go through it earlier on yesterday, but let's just jump that for the time being. Let's just move straight into Leviticus chapter 1. The aim is to read 4 chapters today, and if you can read more, well, why not? So let's, as usual, I'm going to bring this. I've got a version here, but why don't we just bring it up on the screen and take things. so far. It's more of instructions on how, so far, on how offerings should be made to the Lord. So there's nothing really, it's something that we should be aware of. There's nothing here so far that I can see that requires additional explanation, you know? So I think I suppose at that time, just thinking about it now, people had, no, I don't think so. Could could one say people, suppose the Israelites were physically aware of the presence of God because he was with them in the tabernacle. And when that tabernacle moved, he indicated it in the nighttime with a fire. And in the daytime, as a cloud, telling the people that this is the sign that I am with you. Okay? So isn't that to me like an experience from that time that um, the people quite simply were in the presence of God, and he was in a way with them. His presence was there because he told them, this is me in this apparition, you know? So the Israelites, I would say they were blessed though, weren't they? You know? And to be his chosen people and to realize that he's speaking to the likes of Moses, and Moses will come and speak to you as well. And at a time when he called the Israelites to, I think it was a foot of, I've forgotten what the name of the mountain was. And they repeated that everything that you tell us we shall do. And they knew that the Lord was at the mountain. He said, do not come to the mountain itself, but just be in the environment. And so it was, you see. So I just wanted to kind of express that thought, you know. So it would have been very interesting times, you know, to have come out of Egypt the way that they came out of Egypt, and to have walked through the Red Sea and be making your way to the promised land, and for knowing that God, the creator of everything that you can see and touch, has chosen you to be his people, to be his prophets, for you to live in the Holy Land. And through you, the whole world will be blessed. You know, because I said one time, well, let's say the Israelites followed all that they said they would do, as in obeying the Lord's commandments. They said they would. Let's say they followed that and they became prophets and they were living a holy life. Imagine how their neighbors would have felt when they saw them. They said, well, look, these people, they're winning all their wars. Look at the way they live. Look at the laws that they follow. Isn't this a perfect way to be? Why don't we get the blessings that they have? Why don't we live their life? They would have been like, this is my own thoughts. They would have been like an example to the rest of the world on how life should be lived under the guidance of the true God, of the only God. Not the gods of the likes of Laban that we've seen. We spoke about that. Not the gods who the Canaanites worship, not the gods who the Egyptians worship. God, the creator of everything, the Alpha and the Omega. If you see what I'm saying? So you can imagine yourself if you're an ambassador for God. How do you think you would need to be conducting yourself as an ambassador of God? Let's forget about the Israelites for the moment. The Lord has blessed you from birth, or through your life, you become born again. And you've taken on the Lord's commandments. How would you now be his ambassador? How would you want to be seen by others who know that this man is blessed by God? He's a child of God. You'd want to conduct yourself in the proper way, wouldn't you? Because let's say you didn't conduct yourself according to the Lord's commandments, according to the Lord's edicts, according to the guidance that the Lord has provided us in the Bible. What would people say? They're like, oh, don't worry about him. He said he's a man of God. He said he's a man of God. He's just like us. He's probably even worse than us. Look at him. He sins all the time. He doesn't obey any commandments. But what if you were truly an ambassador for God and you were reflecting through your lifestyle, through your conduct, the Lord's word? Can anybody accuse you of anything? What authority would Satan have over you? Because you remember when he got kicked out of heaven, I think it's in Revelations, he was screaming and shouting day in and day out about who knows what. Probably about some activity that somebody done sometime, somewhere. So not only is it a blessing, but it's also a responsibility. Because you're reflecting the Lord's word. You're his ambassador. You've been chosen by God. So you have to live that life. Okay, because you don't know in what ways you are influencing people by your actions. Because people will notice and say, oh, he's kind of different. Who is this guy? Who is he? You know? So it's important. It's a responsibility. Think about an ambassador of a country in his host country. Aren't you meant, don't they? I don't know if you've ever been to, to these events that various embassies hold. I have been. I've been to a piano recital in the Brazilian embassy in London here. It was one of their pianists. It was like the anniversary of his, of his death. And I believe his granddaughter was there. And, I just went down to the embassy and it was a great day. I've also been to the embassy of Barbados. They were celebrating their Independence Day. And, there was presentations and stuff like that. Talk, the ambassador came up. And it was all nice. There was some entertainment and all this kind of stuff. And, they were representing the best bits of their country. Their conduct rather was A plus. I felt welcomed in the embassy. I don't know what was going on behind my back or what was going on in front of me. It was cool, it was calm, and it was quite nice. Because they're promoting their country in the United Kingdom. They want people to visit the embassy, yeah, to get their visas, but also to partake in social events so that they can tell you what is going on in their nation, to promote business, to promote tourism, to give an image of their nation to their host nation and to the population. So wherever you are, you should take advantage of these types of events. But check out the embassy's website, or there's a website in the UK. I've just forgotten its some name now, where they advertise that they've got something going on. Yeah, and I went to the Japanese embassy as well. They had something about, those Japanese cartoons that they have, something about that. So what I'm trying to point out is that if you are a child of God, if you have knocked on the Lord's door, if you obey his commandments, if you knocked on the Lord's door, the Lord has opened that door to you, and you're now in his kingdom, you are an ambassador for the Lord. You're an ambassador for Christ. So your everyday conduct, the way as I just said, the way you present yourself is very important. Okay, so we should always have that at the back of our minds. Okay, something that we will come to again, more so in the New Testament. But I just felt that it's important that we should be aware that we do have a responsibility, and you know, it's be a blessing if anybody can come and approach you and say, "Hey, I'd like to know more about your God. Can you tell me? Can you give me some guidance?" That hasn't happened to me yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Okay, because I know exactly what I would tell them from the bottom of my heart. All right. So if you're watching this live stream later on, just think about that. Okay, and think about coming into the Lord's kingdom openly. Okay, think about how your life will change. And think about how it would be to be an ambassador, not for a nation state, not for your employer, not for your family. Okay, because in these things we take up all kinds of responsibilities, and when we go to work, we've got to conduct ourselves in a certain way. When we're amongst our family members, we've got to behave in a certain way, present a certain image. When we're amongst our peers, same thing. So what do you think it would be like if you're an ambassador for God? So if you can do that in the instances that I just mentioned, how can you not be able to conduct yourself as an ambassador for God, who made you in his image? And you created everything that we can see. Because whatever has been created, what we can see was created by God. Okay? So it's very important, actually. So, it's something when you come into the kingdom, it's something that one needs to consider. Okay. So let's proceed with Leviticus, and we're on chapter So, what I took away from that chapter 4, which is a bit longer than the other 3 chapters, is that if an individual had sinned and they became aware of their sin or they were told about the sin, if it's an individual, if it's a priest, if it's the whole congregation, the whole of Israel, and I think there was another person or individual there or group. So basically, whatever your status was in Israel, if you committed a sin, if you broke the Lord's commandments, in order for you to be forgiven, you had to what? Do a sin offering. I thought about this when I first read it, and I thought to myself, so how comes? Because one of the reasons why why I wanted to read the first 5, I wanted to understand, if I could, the thinking of the Israelites, God's chosen people. You're in the presence of God. He speaks to your representatives. He accepts your offerings, your peace offerings, your sin offerings, and he forgives you if you disobey his commandments. So what was the issue? What seemed to be the problem? If you see what I'm saying, why what was the difficulty in not just obeying the Lord's commandments? What was going on? So the Lord tells us that he is a forgiving God. We're human beings. We make mistakes. Sometimes we're weak. Okay? But the Lord has made provisions for these instances for us to be forgiven and move on. So, what was this rebellious spirit in the Israelites? It's a simple commandment. Because we've been through the commandments, right? And if you're watching on Twitch, go to my YouTube channel and look for Exodus chapter 20. I cover the commandments there. All right. And we agree that, well, they make sense, don't they? They're not that difficult to implement, are they? And upon all of that, for the Israelites, they will say, well, okay, if you break them, you become aware, someone tells you, do a sin offering. And the Lord and you shall be forgiven. So I wasn't there. I'm not chucking water on anybody. But how can we reflect that today? How do we apply this in our lives today? Well, we have to be aware, because there's a word that I'm looking for. We have to be. Oh, it will come to me because I've read this in the New Testament when Paul was saying people have no self-control. He said they have no self-control. You have to have self-control because there's temptation everywhere. Okay, you have to have self-control. Right, so we should learn from this, because we know what. Well, if you don't know, we will know how the Israelites ended up. Okay, and to be honest with you, I I'm always left like flabbergasted as to how they could behave the way that they did and essentially just follow Satan or follow their neighbors, and because when we look at King Saul, he knew about this. Did he do a sin offering? No, he just continued on his merry way, you know? So for us now, we should be aware that, we have to have some self-control. We have to be conscious, we have to be aware, because there will be temptation. Don't worship idols. Don't use the Lord's name in vain. Don't commit adultery. Don't kill. Don't steal. Don't worship any other gods. Don't covet your neighbor's wife, your neighbor's property, whatever he has. Okay? Celebrate the Sabbath. Or observe the Sabbath. That's how I celebrate. Celebrate the Sabbath. Observe it. Because life goes very quickly, because I was thinking to myself, gosh, hasn't the last 10 years gone really quickly? And before you know it, it's the next 10 years. Being serious. Once you get out of that, I've got to wake up and go to school every day. Time goes kind of quickly. And just through observation, you know, I might be, I might have associated with a certain type of people. That's why I'm getting this vibe from them. But um, when I've bumped into people that I grew up with, some of them are older than me, but we're in the same kind of age stroke peer group. And I've occasionally bumped into them. And what surprised me is that, especially people that I've known since I was a child, or a young man, what has surprised me is that they haven't changed at all. They've changed physically, we all have. I'm talking mentally, spiritually, morally. But let's focus on the spiritual and on the moral. They haven't changed at all. And I find that amazing. Because when you're in your 20s, all right, even in your teens, you don't kind of expect to be doing what you're doing in your teens, in your 20s, or in your 30s. And when you're in your 40s, you don't expect to be thinking and doing what you're doing when you're in your 30s. Talk less of when you're in your 50s. You know? And when I've met people, I've just subsequently after the meeting, because when you speak to somebody, when they're asking you things, for me, I don't really think about what is this guy talking about? What's he saying? I'm focused on my interaction with them. And I'm also focused these days in telling them about God. Okay. I try to chip that into my conversation, especially when I haven't seen you for a while. I say to myself, there's a reason why you're here talking to me. I don't know what that reason is, but I know that because you're here, I need to at least mention the Lord to you. Okay. And but when I'm just speaking to these people on a general basis, the things that they come out with, I'm just shocked, you know? And it just sort of like I said, "Oh, okay, fair enough, that's cool. fair enough. Yeah, yeah, okay. See you soon and bye. You know what I mean? So I think we need to think about growth spiritually and morally. It's very important. We need to move on with our lives. Okay. Yeah, we all have lived a life, been around, done this and done that. That's fine. But it's time we need to now grow. We need to become a new man. Okay? We do. You need to start seeing things differently. You need to build on the wealth of your experience, all the knowledge that you've accumulated over those years of living life. And many of those things you cannot be taught. It's through experience. Okay, so we have to make ourselves aware of our experiences, good and bad, and focus to where we want to go with our lives. Okay? Gotta want to make that change because Satan wants to keep us in that same thing that we were doing, that we were thinking when we were in our teens. And he wants us to have the impression that we are maturing. That is the deception. That is the lie that you need to avoid. Okay, I thought I'd just drop that because it's something that came to my mind today. And I was just saying to myself, what is going on here? Okay. I'm not talking about academically, I'm not talking about um, your employment. I'm talking about moral and spiritual development and moving on and getting closer to the Lord, not closer to the devil, because he knew us when we were in our teens and when we were in our 20s and our 30s. Some of you are blessed, you noticed that and you moved away from him. Many of us were not. So you need to focus on your moral and on your spiritual development. It's very important. Because you know what darkness is? Satan boasts about darkness. And darkness is moral. One definition of it is moral and spiritual depravity. And Satan will say, we are darkness. And our response is that we are light. And the darkness can never comprehend the light. Okay? Satan will boast and shout from the rooftops that he and his cohorts are darkness. And when you look around, you see that moral and that spiritual depravity that Satan represents. And you want to get out of that and move into the light. Use your experience, use your knowledge for yourself and get yourself out of that darkness and move into the light of the Lord, who created you in his image and has his door open, wide open for you. As you can tell, the Lord is a forgiving God. We've just read it. It's right there for us to read. And this is the Old Testament. Okay, so think about it, okay? And remain blessed. We're alive, we're breathing. Be sober, be awake. It's important. Okay, wow. been a pleasure, actually. It's been a pleasure speaking to you this evening. Um, Took a little bit for me to get my stuff all together and to be here, but boy, was it worth it. Um it's really, really nice to have been able to speak to you. I'm just checking, just looking at my screens. Oh, I've got a view on Rumble, I've got a view on Twitch. Hey guys, this is for you, man. Right. Well, we're rolling. I don't know about you, but I'm gonna go and get myself something to eat. I forgot to say, today's the 23rd of July, 2026. It's Thursday. So, coming to the last week of July, the 7th month of the year. So we're gonna winding down to Christmas. All right. So, it doesn't feel that long ago when we celebrated Christmas 2026. But I do want to say these 5 months are important. Use it. Make sure you make good use of it. Whatever your goals are, whatever your objectives are, think about them and go ahead and achieve them. I don't like setting um, New Year's resolutions. I don't do that. I just set myself objectives and work at goals and work towards doing those things. And if I fumble, I say, okay, I fumbled, and move on and continue. Okay. So as long as we're breathing, as long as we're healthy, um, everything is possible. And when you have the Lord in your life, you're not going to be afraid of anything, because we did go through Psalm 91. I did, but I will go through it again. Go when you're in the Lord's shadow. All right. So I'd like to wish you a fantastic rest of the day. And I look forward to speaking to you. Just as a shout out, if you like the stream, I would appreciate it if you just press the follow button. That's all you have to do. And you get notifications, I do believe. And you might also get an alert whenever I go live. What I am going to start doing, not from tomorrow, but soon, if by the end of the month or by the beginning of August, I'm going to set myself a schedule. I do know Thursday is a great day for me, so I will be live every Thursday. But I just want to make sure that I get the timings right. So I want to ensure that if I say I'm going to be live at 8 p.m., 8 p.m. it is, and I don't want to keep people waiting. So, but I am live every Thursday, and I do additional shows also during the week, every now and again. All right. So enjoy the rest of the day, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Take care now. Good night.